So here we are back on our machine dc.company.pri, the same domain controller we've been working with throughout the entirety of this course and learning path. And it's here where I want to step through a whole list of demonstrations to show you all the things that you can do here with Active Directory and the management tasks that you may ultimately need to perform. For the very first of which, I just want to show you that indeed Active Directory in this version is something that can be managed while it's offline. And for the first demonstration here, I just want to show you that from an elevated command prompt here, if I bring up that command prompt and then clear the screen, I can show you that NTDS now can be controlled with the net stop command. So net stop NTDS. This is Active Directory itself, and so shutting down Active Directory is obviously going to have to shut down the other things that Active Directory relies upon. So if we do that, we can just simply power it down and power down all those other services as well. This is the first step in dealing with any of these offline tasks that we'll deal with here in just a minute. Because in order to deal with these database internal consistency checks and integrity checks, we have to have the Active Directory database in an offline form first. Now, what's important to recognize here is that prior to, I believe it was Windows Server 2008 R2, NTDS was not a stoppable service. It was a service that was always on, that was hooked directly into the operating system, and that could only be shut down by restarting into Directory Services Restore mode. So it's important to recognize here that the fact that we can just shut down this service is actually fairly important for the tasks that we'll need to accomplish here in just a bit. Now, in addition to just being able to stop the service here, I want to just remind you about this Directory Services Restore mode that we talked about a bit earlier on back in the 70-410 content. The reason why I'm bringing it up here now is because Directory Services Restore mode is something we'll have to enter into a little later on in order to support the restoration of these different objects that we're going to delete inadvertently here in our environment. But one of the issues with DSRM that actually happens quite often in production is the fact that the DSRM password is something that is only configured at the moment Active Directory itself is configured. So when you promote a member server to an Active Directory domain controller. And so for that reason, what I want to show you here is that the command ntdsutil has the ability for you to go about actually resetting your DSRM password. Notice right here, set DSRM password allows you to reset that Directory Services Restore mode password so that you know what it is, because you'll require it whenever you end up going into DSRM mode. If you do set DSRM password here, that will then take you into the correct submenu so that you can then reset it for any of the domain controllers in your environment. Notice here I can choose reset password on server, whatever, or even to sync the password from a domain account. So again, I'm showing you this because in all too many environments, that password was set a very long time ago and perhaps wasn't written down in a place that can be easily located. So you may want to just stop things here and just make sure that your passwords, your DSRM passwords, which are individual to each domain controller, have been configured to something that you know. In my own personal field consulting experience, I've gone through this process a number of times with different clients who have no idea what that password is.